Well, we're marching along here, and the winds are going to diminish and temperatures are going to rise over the next few days across much of the eastern states, peaking on Saturday. Meanwhile, severe weather is going to be breaking out in the middle over the next 4 days, and we've got a spring winter type storm in play up in parts of the northern Rockies. And then we've got a few other things going on too, which we will share with you forthwith here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Which, if you'd like, and we do appreciate it because it keeps the podcast commercial free. If you do your Amazon shopping using our referral link, it'd be great. Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and it doesn't cost you a cent. It's an easy way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, particularly because it doesn't cost you anything. So, anyhow.
There you go.
Lovely day here, less wind, lots of sun, mid 60s. I went to the park. I walked 5 miles, so was a happy camper. And then my neighbor Addison came over and helped me take down a dogwood tree that I wanted to get rid of. And it was productive. It was a productive day.
Well, I got to tell you, temperatures were in the low 40s today. They felt like the low 30s or near 30. The winds have been howling almost nonstop since last night. They're going to be another brisk night tonight. And then interestingly, Joe, tomorrow, bright sunshine. It'll be a less harsh day, even though the winds will still be rather breezy, but temperatures should get up close to or above 60. But then tomorrow night, at least for a little while, the winds are going to die off, and we're going to have a wide spread of temperatures, I think, on Friday morning, from 20s up north and west to 40s in urban areas along the coast. A big radiational cooling night coming up for tomorrow night. And then, well, the weekend comes our way. And I'm thinking now that we could see temperatures of around 80 in most spots here in the Hudson Valley on Saturday, and then a big drop off on Sunday to the mid and low 60s. But lots of sunshine, I think, for Easter Sunday. And showers, well, I'm beginning to think that I thought there might be a shower with a warm front coming through here late on Friday or Friday night. I don't think that anymore. And as far as Saturday, I'm thinking that if we do get any kind of precipitation, it won't come until late Saturday or Saturday night as the cold front passes on by. Maybe even a thunderstorm, but it does not look like anything that will. If you have anything planned out of doors, I'd do it on Saturday, especially with the temperatures rising toward 80. And then again, much better day, a brighter day, sunnier day, but cooler day coming up on Easter Sunday.
95% of the time, it's going to be rain free this weekend. I
I
mean,
think so.
at the very least. I mean, we're talking about a small time frame, during Saturday evening or Saturday night, if those showers even survive. Yeah, it's for the most part. If you like it warm, you'll like Saturday. If you like it seasonal, you'll like Sunday. And this will make just about everybody happy. Even Sal Blandino won't be able to complain about it. Yeah, you reminded me, by the way, when you were talking about the winds howling. So it did not get out of the 40s today by you.
I think the high temperature here was 44 at the stroke of midnight last night. And then I
Yeah.
checked again this afternoon and it was 43. So it may have even have been a few degrees colder earlier in the day this morning. I didn't check on that, but I can tell you that with the way the winds were blowing out there today, it felt no better than the low 30s and maybe at times the chill factor was
Yeah.
even in the 20s.
Well, it's a funny that you mentioned about the fact about Thursday night and Friday morning being a radiation or cooling night, and I meant to bring this up a few times and just forgot, but this is a good reminder. We had very few of those kind of nights over the winter months because of the fact that it's been so windy most of the time, which is a little
Yeah,
unusual.
yeah, and the winds are going to die off quite a bit later tomorrow, especially in the after midnight hours tomorrow night. It will be a mostly clear, calm, and chilly, or maybe even for some cold night. I noticed, Joe, that in parts of New Jersey, well, we'll see it on the map in a moment, that there are freeze advisories up for portions
Yeah.
of central and southern Jersey. And I'm not sure. Now, we're so late into April now that I think tomorrow night for parts of the Hudson Valley, we'll be seeing the same kind of watches or advisories in effect because, again, by mid April, I'm sure the growing season has officially commenced in this part of the state. And whereas we didn't, last time we were very cold, which was about a week or 10 days ago, there were no such advisories. Now, what are you going to say? You're going to,
Right.
it looks like tomorrow night will be a night when, if you've already started planting foolishly, uh, you're going to have a problem in the interior sections, the rural sections of the Hudson Valley region.
Matthew Warman would like to know, Joe, is there an Aurora borealis tonight?
We could have the greatest auroral display in modern history. It will be meaningless to all of you because the skies, if you step outside, are cloudy, and it's going to stay cloudy, mostly cloudy up until midnight, and thereafter it'll slowly clear. But I'm sorry to tell you that the display, it was another one of those G4, the same kind of display we had in May and in October when it was readily visible from our latitudes. But unfortunately, all of that took place during the daytime today, and now as we move into the night, the activity is starting to wane. So we hey, what did Meatloaf say? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We did get the one in May and the one in October last year. We missed out this go around. There may be other chances coming our way down the road, but it looks like we missed out on this major display of northern lights today. Again, mainly because it happened during the daytime.
All right. Not that you want to be a killjoy, but you have a point. You got a lot of clouds. Meanwhile, here, beautiful day here. We were down to near 40 this morning, which was, pretty good since we were at 80 yesterday. And was it yesterday? Trying to remember. I think so. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? No, it was the day before yesterday. We were around and got up above 80. Um, Today, right now, it is 62 here, and the dew relative humidity is 22%. Bone dry. Last I looked, I think the dew point was somewhere around 29 or 30. The bone dry here in North Georgia in the mountains. So there's always fire risk when you got these conditions here and there's any kind of a wind, but the wind was definitely better yesterday. I do want to start off with a different map tonight, but before I do, I want to give a big hello to everybody on the chat board. And for those of you watching in the background, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're a regular feature in the land of YouTube here, Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Except that this Easter Sunday we will be taking off. So after tomorrow's show, we won't be back until Monday. So subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, by all means, hit the like button. So Frank Lysandra, who's occasionally on the chat board sometimes, um, but I don't see him here tonight. However, he asked me this question with regards to the water temperatures uh, right now and how are they running in terms of normal. Well, the one thing I did discover is that when I went to the Nestis website, where they used to have a separate page where they showed the anomalies for all these different sections. Well, apparently they have gotten rid of that. Um, should have known when I saw that when the snowfall forecast map from WPC was paired back over the winter that this was going to going to see more and more of this. But this map shows the actual temperatures, the water temperatures in Celsius, and all that dark blue that you see along the South Shore of Long Island and off the New Jersey coast are water temperatures that are running at about 5 degrees Celsius or so, 6 degrees Celsius, mostly in the low 40s. And you go up into Maine and off of Nova Scotia, where you see the purple. The water temperatures that are there are down in the 30s and even the low 30s at that. So I mean the water is really cold off of Nova Scotia. But I was able to find like the whole world map with the anomalies. And I can tell you that the water temperatures in all these areas that you see in blue, the water temperatures are running a good 5 to 7 degrees below normal. So it's the ocean water is actually quite cold. So, if we get another backdoor cold front setup where you got a high that's going into eastern New England and the air mass is building southward, it's playing off of water temperatures in the Gulf of Maine and points east that are in the 30s. So that's going to be a big factor in those type of situations when we get into with a high to the north and a northeast wind. It's going to keep being below normal temperatures. I mean, it always does mean below normal temperatures with the back door, but in this case, with the extra with the cold ocean, it's going to be that much colder.
Well, you would expect something like that with the ocean because it's not over yet. April is not over yet, but certainly it is running below normal this particular month. And that would make it, if it does end up below normal, the fourth month out of the last five with below normal temperatures. And this was the coldest that we've seen locally in about a decade. So you wonder why the oceans are so cold, at least near shore ocean temperatures. That's the reason why. And yeah, if you get a backdoor front with this type of a setup, you're going to see temperature. And we already saw that. I mean, on Saturday, March 29th, if you remember, we had temperatures soaring into the 80s, and then all of a sudden, within an eye blink, the temperatures dropped. In fact, if I recall correctly, according to Rob Friedowitz, that was the second fastest 1 hour drop in temperature in New York Central Park. They dropped something like 26 degrees in 1 hour. So backdoor fronts, especially with that cold ocean water, can be brutal when they do pass on through. We don't have a backdoor front this weekend. We're going to actually see temperatures fall, but nowhere near as rapidly as they did a few weeks ago. And again, temperatures on Saturday up near or above 80, but probably about, at least 15 degrees cooler with a regular cold front moving through late Saturday night into early Sunday.
And by the way, you can clearly see the darker browns and the orange colors that's the Gulf Stream. So you go from the temperatures in the Gulf Stream are running right now in the mid to upper 70s, and even warmer as you get south toward off Georgia and Florida. But it's a very short distance from the Gulf Stream to the really cold water. I mean, you literally go. It can't be more than 40 or 50 miles where you go from water temperatures that are in the low and middle 70s to water temperatures that are in the low to middle 40s. So it's a very, very tight gradient indeed, a well-defined Gulf Stream here that is showing up. Meanwhile, as we check out the watches and warnings across the country, as Joe pointed out, we do have with these frost advisories or freeze warnings?
I think it's
Frost
freezing.
advisories.
Frost advisory?
Frost advisories for how are you going to have frost
How,
tonight
I was just going to say, how is
with
that
the wind?
possible? How is that possible? Yeah, I agree with you.
Who did
That's why I
that?
said that's why I said freeze advisory is more likely.
No, it's a frost advisory. It's either a frost advisory or a freeze warning. Well, they got frost advisories up there in southeastern Pennsylvania. I mean, unless they expect the wind to drop off the dead calm, like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that just seems a little unlikely to me. Just for laughs, let's just read the forecast. Just gonna pick a point here in southern New Jersey where it's 53. It's west at 24, gusting to 36. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Areas of frost after 2 a.m., otherwise mostly clear, breezy with a west wind to 10 to 20 miles an hour with gusts to 35. And then even Thursday, they're going for gust 50. What? No, it's ridiculous. Mount Folly, Mount Holly, you have committed a folly. It,
See, I know that it would make a lot more sense simply on cold air advection to issue a freeze warning or a freeze advisory or whatever. I agree with you, Joe. How are you going to get frost when the winds are churning that much?
it's
Somebody
ridiculous. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Areas of frost after 2 a.m. Mostly clear, low of 33. Northwest at 7 to 17 with gusts to 29. And you're putting up a frost advice. Can somebody wake these people up? Come
Well,
on.
maybe the
Unless they
person,
already have the AI doing this.
maybe the person who did the forecast is one of those newbies who just got the job. Although I don't know, all of the newbies supposedly have been let go, I guess, because of the you know
Yeah.
current policies or
All
whatever.
right.
I don't.
Sykesville, Maryland. Areas of frost after 2 a.m. Otherwise clear, low of 34. Northwest winds 6 to 14 miles an hour with gusts to 28. Oh, can somebody really put me out of my misery with this? Here's another one. I'm going as far south as I can. I'm trying to find where at least the wind gets calm. Okay, so now in Manassas, Virginia, which is south of Washington, D.C., areas of frost after 2 a.m., otherwise clear with a low of 35. Northwest at 5 to 11, gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. I mean, for Christ's just stop. You know what? Let's go back to this. Let's forget all of this. Okay, just forget it. All right. Now back in Ohio and Kentucky, it might be a different story. I'm just going to check to see if these, sometimes so you got to just sort of look at these forecasts and see if they make any kind of sense. All right. So I'm going to Huntington, West Virginia, where it's
Now
six
wait
to
a minute. Before you continue, I just went online and looked at the area forecast discussion from Mount Holly.
yeah.
So, so they say this is in the near term for tonight through Thursday. Quote, with winds potentially going fairly light, at least in more sheltered spots. But they didn't. The
Oh, for
forecast
God's
didn't
sake, a
suggest,
sheltered spot, what, underneath a sewer? You know?
along with the aforementioned clear skies and low dew points, will likely have the colder spots across much of the region drop to freezing or below. All right, I admit that. I admit it's going to get to, but the main thing is if you're going to get frost, you really need to turn that wind machine down to less than 5 miles an hour for a chance.
Oh,
Given,
at least.
and I was saying, given that we're now in the growing season for much of the region, opted to issue a frost advisory. Maybe you should have issued a freeze warning or a freeze advisory. Frost advisory, I don't think so. Though really, it's more of a. Now get this now. Though really, it's more of a patchy freeze warning, as dew points will be mostly be a bit too high for widespread frost. So they kind of contradict themselves. They're putting up a frost advisory, and then they admit that it should really be a patchy freeze advisory because the dew points are so low, and the dew points will actually be a bit too high for widespread frost, and the wind may stay just up enough to prevent frost anyhow.
You
However, given
know,
that we'll be likely see some scattered spots radiate efficiently, it seems like a reasonable quote heads up regarding temperatures tonight. So there you go.
I'm
There's the
sorry.
reason for the.
I think it's ridiculous, but enough. We've got winter storm warnings up in Wyoming. I won't check their forecast. I'm sure it matches there. Winter storm watches in southeastern Wyoming with advisories and even a few watches down into western Colorado and also across southern Montana and up into northwestern Montana. Just want to check what's the snow forecast over there. Let's take a look. Let me widen this map out and go over to the west. Come on, here we go. All right, well, not too shabby. I mean, they got at least some double-digit amounts that they're forecasting for areas in Wyoming. Not seeing much of anything in Colorado, although for some reason the colors are cutting off. I'm not sure why. Let's see if I get okay. That's better. But actually, some areas of 1 foot plus snows extending down west of Denver. Denver doesn't even, Denver's in it, but for some reason I don't have a number print on this. There we go. Three for Denver, but just west of Denver, they've gotten 11. I'm sorry, a 13. And you've got some 12 to 18-inch amounts in the higher terrain across Wyoming and up into southern Montana. So you know what? It snowed not too many days ago in the Hudson Valley. I guess it's okay for it to snow in Montana and Wyoming. And by the way, you know, there are still a fair amount of clouds that are moving southeastward from upstate New York into northern Pennsylvania, and that's another thing. It better go mostly clear because you're not gonna have the wind working with you with regards to the frost. Now it might be a little different down in southern West Virginia and into the Western Virginia mountains and points south because they're out, they're going to get out of the gradient before too long. Meanwhile, we've got Pacific moisture moving up into the Rockies, and we also have the beginnings of subtropical moisture that's going to be feeding up from the Pacific into Texas and points northward, which is going to set up some rounds of severe weather in the next several days and probably right through Easter Sunday, in fact. Radar tonight, some leftover, some light snow up in parts of Maine and in the St. Lawrence River Valley. You've got some larger patches of snow showing up, even some heavier bands in southern Montana right now, as well as northwestern Montana. Gets us also across parts of Colorado, back through Utah, Nevada, probably rain in the valleys there and into southern California. Nothing major at the moment, and we've got a couple of streaks here of some light precip in Missouri and into Illinois. The Storm Prediction Center, marginal risk tonight, western Missouri, Kansas, northern Oklahoma, northwest Texas, southeast Nebraska. Now, tomorrow it picks up to a slight risk in eastern Nebraska, Iowa, northern Missouri, and southern Minnesota. That has a 2% tornado risk with that. Then we move on to Saturday. This is Friday into Saturday, where we've got this large area of slight risk from north central Texas, northeastward through the middle Mississippi Valley and the Missouri River Valley, into the lower Great Lakes, southern Wisconsin, southern Michigan. Too early for a tornado percentage forecast. And day 4, in the long range, it's still there. They've got a large swath of implied slight risk from central Texas northeastward to Arkansas, southern Missouri, Kentucky, southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, into West Virginia and southwestern Pennsylvania. This is Saturday into Sunday. And then Sunday into Monday, we have a new area of slight risk. And this is going to be with a storm that's going to come out of Texas and go northward of implied 15% slight risk from southern Missouri, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, westernmost Kentucky and Tennessee, northwest Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and East Texas. So we're going to be relatively calm, Joe, but it does look like the way the pattern is setting up that the folks in the middle are going to have severe weather issues to deal with for the next 4 days.
Yes, we had mentioned that yesterday, and especially in that one zone which covers portions of Arkansas and Missouri and southern sections of Illinois. I mean, they over eastern Long Island because this is the long wave satellite picture. It's getting too dark now to rely upon visible satellites, so it's best to use the long wave radiation analysis here. And everywhere that you see orange, that's where the skies are pretty much mostly clear. But you see here in the Hudson Valley, everything is solidly yellow, and that indicates, and I looked out the window before I went on the air, solid overcast. So you ain't going to see anything. In northern New Jersey, you've got one little patch here in northern Jersey where it appears orange. So maybe there's a hole in the clouds here, but most of northern down to central New Jersey is more cloudy than anything else. New York City, pretty much mostly cloudy. Practically all of Connecticut, sorry about this, Dennis, Cassia, although right along the immediate shore here near Bridgeport, looks like there's some openings in the cloud cover. So, as I said before, the clouds are going to prevail now and through about midnight. And then finally, as this area, here's the back edge, this area of clearing will lift to the north and northeast later tonight and put us in this zone down here, all orange and all bright and sunny. So tomorrow, a bright and sunny day, a clear night tomorrow night. It'd be great to have the Aurora tomorrow night, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. And then on Friday, sunshine. And Joe, I think with the approach of the warm front, high clouds will begin entering the picture on Friday. Friday night, the warm front will move on through, and that'll put us in a warm wedge of air for Saturday. Saturday, as I said, flirting with 80, and that's not a record in the Hudson Valley, that is. 86 is the record at Westchester Airport, but still, we'll be approaching a record. It's going to be warm. It's going to be about 15 or 17 degrees above normal. So, if you got anything planned out of doors, go ahead and do them. Cold front approaches late Saturday, maybe a shower, or maybe a shower or thunderstorm Saturday night. That should clear out and set the stage for a cooler, drier, sunnier Easter Sunday.
WPC has a tenth of an inch of rain or less for the next 7 days. There's a couple of places in northern Maine and upstate New York that get a little bit more. On the other hand, in the areas where we're talking all the severe weather, WPC has expanded the area of 3 to 5 inch rainfall amounts from eastern Oklahoma into Missouri. And the 3 inch rain amounts push up into Illinois and even into parts of southern Indiana, and then back down into north central and northeastern Texas. Also seeing ample precip up and down the Rockies, and not a whole lot of anything going on out in the west. So, from earlier today, the low is finally pulling away up in Atlantic Canada, although it's taking its sweet time doing it, but it is gradually pulling out. The gradient stays relatively tight from New England down to about New York City, and then it thins out during the day tomorrow. And I think by later in the afternoon and evening, the winds should have eased quite nicely. And then, of course, as Joe described, the clear skies, high pressure and light winds for Thursday night into Friday morning. We'll probably have some decent radiational cooling. Warm front goes by well to our north on the European, and then you see the system out in the Rockies here that's dropping southward, spreading the snows down into Wyoming and eventually into Colorado. The lead low runs out ahead tomorrow, brings some severe weather to parts of Iowa and Minnesota, and some showers and a few thunderstorms further north into Wisconsin. Then that goes out. Then we have the approaching front that triggers off Friday night. Severe weather potential from Oklahoma northeastward into Indiana. We're going to warm up on Friday back into the 60s. Saturday, I went mid 70s to low 80s on Saturday, and I think there'll be enough sun for that. And not much in the way of a sea breeze unless you're right on the beach, by the way. The front tries to come through here Saturday evening. You see the showers and storms that are there in western New York and western Pennsylvania basically fall apart by the time they get to the coast. And then we have a high that's going to be building in between a low that's up in Atlantic Canada and a new storm that forms in Texas. And you see all the the convection that the European is producing in the Mississippi Valley on Sunday, and then pushing east into Sunday evening. So it looks like that's going to be could very well be a relatively rough, severe weather day, because that's a that low fairly that flow deepens down to about a 990-ish low. So that'll be there's enough energy here to produce. And of course, you see the signature of the comma shape always tells you that we're talking some heavy duty energy here. And maybe Monday we get another front with maybe the chance that there could be some showers and storms with that. And then as we go through the rest of next week, looks kind of quiet. More severe weather for the middle, though, especially in the latter part of next week. But after whatever happens Monday, uh, it might wind up being mostly dry for next week.
I think so. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's always nice to see high pressure building in time for the holiday on Sunday. That as our dear departed friend Norm Devoskin would say, blue skies on Sunday, it's a sure thing.
Oh, jeez. All right, let's go. The chairman, Scott Burler, who hit Super Chat earlier. Thank you, by the way, Scott, for doing that. We do have Briller Jeopardy here, so let's see what this is about today. Oh, more honeymooners, Joe.
Okay.
So, what was Trixie's real name?
Oh, Thelma.
Oh, you're right, Thelma.
I mean, they had the Cramdens hired a maid by the name of Thelma,
That's correct.
and if you're going to look through, the name was not mentioned in any of the original 39 or classic 39 episodes, nor was it mentioned, I believe, in the Lost episodes. However, when they were doing the Honeymooners in the 1960s, and Sheila McCrae was playing the role of Alice, and Trixie was being played by Jane Keene. There was an episode where the Thelma name was mentioned for Trixie. So
Okay.
there
Um, let's let the
yes, I know,
chat board
Howard.
do
I
the.
just said that, Howard Olson. I said Thelma was the maid for the Cramdens, but in later episodes, the
Joe,
color
you're.
episode 1960s, it was mentioned that Thelma was also Trixie's real name.
By the way, Joe, you're very blurry all of a sudden.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wonder why.
I
Wait a
don't
minute.
know.
Supposedly, if I put my hand in front of the camera,
Right.
maybe that'll help clear things up.
Yeah, much better. Much better. All right,
There you go.
we'll let the
Look at
chat
that.
board.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
Yes.
you've gotten technical. Um, let's see if the chat board can get this one because I know you'll get this one, and I know this one. Finish this quote by Alice. I call you killer because I call you killer because. Let's see. Anybody? They're still on you. Oh, there we go. Rich Rothmansky, Christinapedia. Uh, Frank Scalera started off said yes, very blurry. No, it's you. Like, yes, because you slay me. You slay me. You slay me. I love you, Frank. You slay me is the correct answer.
I like the way she says it, though. I call you killer
Killer
because you
because you
slay
slay,
me.
and I'm calling Bellevue because you're nuts.
Right.
Okay, who were the Cramdens' Italian neighbors? What was the name of the Cramdens' Italian neighbors? Chat board. The Cramdens' Italian neighbors. Well, I'm
The
waiting.
wife, the husband of the Italian neighbor's wife. She goes like this and like this. And she
Okay, Tyler Fienga, there is no G in Manigotti. Okay. By the way,
Manicotti.
Italians do not say manigot. Okay. Uh, that's the Brooklynese or the Bronxese Italian is manigot or gabagol. Okay, it's manicotti. Okay, you pronounce the C, manicotti, which by the way literally means cooked hands. Okay, so if you feel cannibalistic, have manicotti. Norton had been sleepwalking for how many nights? Norton had been sleepwalking for Tyler. I was just kidding you, Tyler. By the way. Uh, okay, so Norton had been sleepwalking for how many nights? Rich Rothmansky says 5. James Davidson said 2. Harold Olson said 3. Frank R says 3. Conroy Jet says 3. Owen 023 D23 says 8. Dennis Cassia says 7. Frank Scalera says 7. Joe, do you know the answer to this?
Well, he only sleepwalks in the actual episode 3 times. Once at the beginning, once when Ralph is staying with him, and then at the end when he's holding Lulu.
Right, but
So
I
I was
think they mentioned. I think Trixie mentions that he's been at it for the past 4 nights.
okay.
But that's the answer I got here. So Tyler Finga and Tim said 4. So ring the bell for those two.
I will do that. And if
And
that's the good
tonight's
news,
final
man, give me a
question, Joe,
popsicle.
is who is the host of the $99,000 answer? Who
Say that
is the
again.
who was the host of the $99,000 answer?
Oh,
Let's see if the chat board. No, it's not Steve Harvey. Ben Dolan. And that answer, by the way, was provided by Ben Dover on the chat board.
yeah.
Not Gary Foster, but Dennis Cassia gets it. Herb Norris, correct. And he was played by Jay Jackson.
Jay Jackson. Now this goes back now many back to the early '80s when the fan club Ralph, the Royal Association for the Longevity and Preservation of the Honeymooners, first formed. They had a get together, Joe, at C.W. Post College on Long Island. There must have been in the auditorium thousands of people, and I don't they had a big auditorium, big assembly zone, and they had some of the people who were on the Honeymooners. They actually had um, uh, the little guy with Harvey. Uh, hey, you better not. My Harvey's even bigger than my friend Shirley. You remember him?
Right.
They had him. They had Arnie Rosen's wife, who played Rita, the one with the cigarette, and
Oh, yes.
she was there. But they also had Jay Jackson, and when Jay Jackson stepped out after being introduced and everything, half of the audience, I mean, like hundreds of people screaming up to the stage, Herb, Herb, Herb. I mean, it was the guy was so taken aback. I think he was near tears. Just, that people, after all of these years, it must have been like 30 years since that episode was aired originally, people recognizing him and like they fell all over him. He was treated like,
Royalty.
well, there he is, Herb Norris or whatever. So I remember that the most out of that convention was the people screaming Herb, 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 and it really got to Jay Jackson. If people remembered that, that was probably the one big the one big part that he had on television,
Right.
being remembered and seen over and over and over again over the years on the Honeymooners, the $99,000 answer.
Yeah, it has to. It definitely has to be cool. All right. Wrapping it up for tonight. We will bid you all good night. So have a good evening. Have a safe night and a safe day tomorrow, which we will be part of you. We will be. Let me start that again. Have a safe day tomorrow, so you can join us tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern time. So take care. Ta ta.
Goodbye, folks.